welcome to The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison produced by the Capital Times. This is Madison Cocktail Week. It's a series of several dozen events in bars, restaurants, and event spaces around the city. I have veteran bartender Mariah Renz on the podcast this week to talk about some of the seminars for bartenders and the fun things that us regular drinkers can do, including a shot at breaking the world record for most cocktails muddled at the same time. She even gave me her build for a classic Wisconsin Old Fashioned, a recipe I'm going to put up online for you. Give a listen. Hi, Mariah, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. It's great to be talking about cocktails in the morning. So.
I know, I love it. I've got my coffee and water, and I'll just fantasize about later.
So this is what, the third year for Madison Cocktail Week? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this is the third year. We've done 4 different Madison Cocktail Weeks, but this is the third year. We had like a teaser one in the middle of February. One of the reasons why we had a teaser in February is because we were transitioning from Madison Cocktail Week being in the winter to October, which is we're still getting amazing weather. It's that beautiful transition from summer to winter to fall, like being in the middle of fall where you still have fruit at the farmer's market, you have apples, you have the Packers playing, you have the Badgers playing. There's so many things to celebrate in Madison, in Wisconsin in the fall.
Yeah, and it's a good time to sort of bring people here, which is one of the goals of the Cocktail Week, right?
Exactly.
Has the mission changed since you first started it?
The mission has definitely evolved. So when you start something, you kind of put your feelers out and see what people want and people need. And one of the things that Madison Cocktail Week has always done is brought bartenders together and people from the community together to celebrate Madison and all the amazing things we are doing here. So one of the ways it's kind of changed, though, over the years is, okay, we're throwing fun events that are great and bringing people together, and we're celebrating drinks. But one of the things that's really we've started doing more and more of is adding educational elements into it, where we're hosting more seminars for both bartenders and the public to learn about cocktails or the way the bar works or how to bring even like things like how to bring a crew of people together and work together.
So would you say that, is it turning into kind of more of a conference? Like this, it sounds like a strong educational component of the Cocktail Week this year.
There is a little bit more conference element to it, but I think it's more of a balance. It's like, versus it becoming a conference, it's how do we throw events that are fun and educational. So let's say we're doing something with the USBG where we're bringing teams of bartenders in from all over the Midwest. It's like we're going to be throwing this party. It's going to be a celebration. It's going to be at Ritual Barber and Merchant. And we're going to be having, bluegrass and jazz, and it's going to be great. But what are they going to do during the day? Why don't we also offer something else? So on Thursday, there's a time and money seminar. And this one's great. So it's talking about kegged cocktails and batching cocktails, which it's amazing how many times I've had this conversations with bartenders where you're like, how do you keg a cocktail? It's one of those mysteries that's really not a mystery. And it can save you so much time and money when you learn how to do it and do it properly. So things like that where you're like, okay, so I'm batching, I'm kegging, and that's really, it's the next level of bartending.
And you mentioned USBG, that's the United States Bartenders Guild. Madison's chapter hasn't been around for terribly long, but it sounds like it's already been pretty active. And even before that, there was Spirited Women, right? And those are both 2 groups for people in the industry to help each other, mutual aid kind of society.
Yeah, both of these groups have been really incredible to bring, to have a support system is huge. And I think in anything you do, to be able to get together with coworkers or people in your same field is very empowering. So with Spirited Women, to be able to bring a group of women bartenders together and to be able to work together and create events and educational things has been really amazing. And Spirited Women also does a lot of work with charities, which to be able to feel like you're more than a bartender, to be able to be a part of something where you're like, I'm raising money for this cause, where I'm able to give my skill set for something beyond me is really an incredible thing. And the USBG does a lot of that as well, where members are able to donate their time to causes and things that they care about.
So a lot of the events are still kind of outward focused, right? They're meant to be fun for people to come and like drink tiki cocktails or to like, shake up old fashions with lots of other people. Can you talk about some of the things that are kind of geared toward the general public to learn more about cocktail culture in Madison?
Of course. So I think most of these, there's a few of the seminars that I think that are definitely bar focused, but I think most of the events anyone can enjoy. So there's seminars like the 7 Pillars of Cocktails, this is going to be hosted at the AC Hotel. Kind of a lot of basics on how to balance a cocktail. So there's some very like important rules when you first start making cocktails on how to create something that is the right amount of alcohol to citrus to sweet, and it can be really fun, and like once you know these basics to then go and play with them beyond that. So it's like, okay, so the build for a classic daiquiri is, this amount of rum, this amount of simple syrup, this amount of lime. You can start switching out that sweet element for anything. Like you're like, oh, instead of just regular simple syrup, what if I use raspberry simple syrup? Or what if I, instead of using rum, switch it out for gin? There's all these basics where you can start simple and kind of go from there. So I think that's a great seminar.
It's about learning the ratios, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just
all
knowing
about ratios.
Yeah, and that to me, like, I had Mike Liu chat on this podcast before, and he talked about like basically, at Robin Room, how you had to learn the basics before they wanted to put on like more complicated cocktails. And I thought that was a really good idea because, again, like once you know the basic builds, you can do a ton of different things.
Oh, for sure. And also just to feel confident at home where you're like, okay, I know how to do this. This isn't as intimidating as that like I thought it was when I was sitting at the bar watching this person pour all these things into a glass and then shake it just right. You're like, I can do this.
That's awesome. So one of the biggest events is the Guinness Book of World Records. We're going to shake the most, or muddle the most old fashions.
Most people muddling cocktails at the same time is the world record we're going for. And I am so excited about this event for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it's going to be on a Sunday during halftime of a Packers game. And we're in, like, who doesn't want to go watch a Packers game all together and have fun with that? But then you add, like, a very Wisconsin element to it, which is old fashions. So the first 300 people in at the Barrymore, so it's going to be at the Barrymore Theater during halftime. So the first 300 people in are going to receive a muddler and get to be part of the Guinness Book of World Record competition, or not competition, muddling during halftime. So, but also, okay, so one of the reasons I also am super, super excited about this event is because a lot of people, when you say Madison Cocktail Week, a lot of people think, okay, so this is craft cocktails, this is these people who are going to be nerding out about thinking about ice and thinking about like these small distilleries and these different things, which is amazing and some of my favorite things. But at the same time, like the cocktail is more than just a cocktail bar. It's a way of bringing people together. And the old fashioned is a very Wisconsin thing. And I think that people from all over Madison, Dane County, all over Wisconsin enjoy old fashions.
I'm going to take a super quick side tangent, but I think it's relevant.
Okay.
How do you make a Wisconsin old-fashioned? Like, because there's all this discussion about, like, do you use a sugar cube or do you use, granulated sugar? What do you muddle? Like, how do the bitters go in? So how, like, if you're making a Wisconsin-style old-fashioned brandy sweet for me right now, like, how do you make it?
Okay, if I'm at work, I use simple syrup because it's a little faster, but ideally I want a raw sugar cube because I think it has great flavor, and I love the way the sugar muddles with the orange and the cherry. So I'll do half a slice of orange, 1 cherry, 1 raw sugar cube, 2 to 3 shakes of bitters, and then muddle. muddle it all together.
So smush it down with like a wooden
Yeah,
peg?
Yeah, exactly.
And the cherry is a maraschino cherry or is Luxardo cherry?
I mean, I would prefer probably an Amarena or a Luxardo cherry because I feel like the flavor is better. They're a little bit more expensive and harder to find. Like, you can't find them at every single grocery store, but it's amazing the difference it creates in an old-fashioned.
And Angostura bitters?
Angostura bitters, yep. So muddle those all together, and then the next thing I'll do is, since we're in Wisconsin, I'll do Korbel brandy. I add the Korbel brandy on top of that, and then I add the ice, and then you're going to top it off with whatever soda of choice. I mean, if you're doing just a classic, probably Sprite. So, and then put a straw on it, put a little bit of garnish of an orange and a cherry, and you're perfect.
And the amount of brandy is what, a couple of ounces, 2 ounces?
2 ounces. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're so strong, but they're like sweet in a way that you think, oh.
I could have another.
Right. So for the brandy bash, will people be getting, like, is Korbel sponsoring?
Korbel is sponsoring this.
Okay.
They are really excited to be a part of it. So with your ticket, you walk in the door, and you're going to get an old-fashioned right as you walk in the door. So Chad Vogel from the Robin Room is going to be creating the old fashions for it. They are going to be old-fashioned sours when you walk in. So you walk in, you get your old-fashioned, you get to be in the Barrymore Theater, which is a great spot on the east side, and watch the Packers game. And then during halftime, during the whole thing, you'll be able to drink Wisconsin Old Fashions. So there's going to be a couple different bar stations set up to drink as many as you like.
An old-fashioned sour is with a different kind of soda, right?
Classically, if you go most places outside of Madison you go to, it will be with Squirt, which I love. It's my preference probably, but we're going to do it with fresh lemon juice added.
That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of turn it sort of back to the things that are for the bartenders and for that bartending community, I wonder about some of the seminars. I mean, there are going to be things like, how you work with particular spirits, but there's also kind of the customer-facing aspect of it, where if you're a bartender, sometimes you have to cut people off or you have to kick people out of your bar, or that can be challenging. But there are also issues of, balance in your own life, right? If you're surrounded by alcohol all the time, that can be really challenging. So I'm curious if there's anything addressing that.
As a bartender, and I've been doing this for a long time, and most of my friends are bartenders, you're constantly thinking about balance. You're thinking about, you are surrounded by alcohol every day. Your hours are, you work late hours, you work long hours, it's a passionate job. You work hard when you're there. You're moving a lot. You're using your body a lot. So you're in this place where you're like, okay, how do I balance myself out? How do I balance myself and make sure that I'm taking care of myself when I am at work and when I'm not at work? So the Balance Behind the Bar seminar is going to be, we're going to have 3 different people talking on the panel. We have Cass Hansen, who's a yoga director, instructor at the studio, Tom Dufek, who's director of beverage at Lucille and Merchant, and then we're also going to have Laura Green, who's a master's candidate in clinical mental health. So 3 people who really know what they're talking about from very different perspectives too. So one of the things that the conversations I've had with Tom Dufek, who's one of the founders of Madison Cocktail Week, and one of the things we've talked about in the past is a lot of bartenders, you make cash money at the end of the night. You walk out of the bar and you have your paycheck every single day. How do you save money? How do you make sure you're not just going and spending it? And how do you think about the future and ensuring that you're like, this isn't just a paycheck this moment. This is something that, how do I use this moving forward? How do you keep a monetary health? Cass Hansen is amazing. She has done in the past yoga classes directed towards service industry people. And as I said, we work hard when we're behind the bar. You're on your feet. You're moving your body in certain ways where it's like it's not even oftentimes. You're shaking a cocktail, maybe you're using just your right arm. It's like, or you're carrying things and they're heavy in your wrist. So yoga and different health practices like that can really help you moving forward so you aren't destroying yourself.
Does she give you any kind of advice in terms of like, maybe alternate wrists, because I feel like yoga is, again, very much about balance.
Exactly. She's very good at that, and ways of holding yourself too, where it's not even just alternating. It's like how you hold your body when you're moving can make a really big difference. And then also yoga is a mental practice as well. So there's a lot of benefits to like doing something like yoga where you are having that zen or those moments of quiet and peace. And especially with bartenders you are working with people all the time too, and oftentimes in loud bars. So finding balance with that is very important. So I don't know, I'm very excited about this. And I know that one of the things you and I were talking about earlier is this idea that Wisconsin's struggle with like our love for drinking and also finding that balance. So I think in a lot of ways you could probably go to this class not even in the industry and probably find some benefit.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, I think, because the Wisconsin's relationship with alcohol can be wonderful as these bars become kind of a third space, right? Like a coffee shop. It's the equivalent of that.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, it's a fraught relationship because of, all the issues that can come along with that. It's funny, I used to go out a lot with a friend of mine who doesn't drink, and I would take her to craft cocktail bars because they could always make her something delicious that was non-alcoholic, and it wasn't just she had to get a soda. And so I think that there are sort of opportunities like that, and when I think, oh my gosh, I kind of wish I had her drink instead of mine, where like, they're coming up with something on the fly that's just delicious but is non-alcoholic.
I'm not from Wisconsin. I moved here 11 years ago. And when the first time I went to a town, like a towny bar in a small town where there's maybe 2 or 3 bars on the main street, and you walk in and you're like, this place is a gathering place. This is where this kind of holds these small towns together, where you have this, people come together, they have their kids, there's fish fry on Friday. And it was so special to me. I'm like, I just loved the way a bar was more than a bar in these places. And so you have that where it's like, okay, you have these bars that are so important. And I love the idea of like, as you said, your friend going to a craft cocktail bar and getting a non-alcoholic drink. It's like the bar doesn't have to be just for going to having drinks. It's a social place. Bartenders, when they're doing their job right, they're bringing people together and giving them a space to have conversations, to get together with family, to get together with friends, and then to meet people they've never met before. And I mean, so much these days where it's harder and harder for people to talk to each other, and there's so many different views and people are so segregated. To be able to be a bartender and bring people together and let them have these conversations and almost be the moderator for these things is super special. So, and that's, I mean, to bring it back to Madison Cocktail Week, on a larger stage, I'm hoping that that's what's happening with us, is to be able to bring these people from different cities, from different places in Wisconsin, and bring them all together, from different bars even within Madison, to bring them all together and give them a place to talk. And, the more we discuss, the better. I've met so many people in this town through Madison Cocktail Week, just bringing different bars together.
One of the things that's been cool in recent years is the start of Spirited Women, which helps women who are in the industry kind of, as you said, kind of meet each other, talk to each other, learn best practices. There's going to be an event as part of Cocktail Week that's Spirited Women led, right?
Yeah, this is going to be our second safety dance that we're having. The first one was back in spring. So we've really partnered with the Rape Crisis Center for our fundraising, because the RCC offers a Safer Bar Bystander class, which essentially teaches bartenders and people who work in restaurants, so servers and bouncers and barbacks. It gives them the tools to really be aware of what's happening in their bar and prevent a sexual assault before it even occurs. So, and these classes are very empowering. It's really neat to go to them and be able to be like, given a lot of things you might do and not even realize you're doing, or learn new skills on how to help customers, and then also feel more empowered for yourself. So this year, or for Madison Cocktail Week, we're doing a safety dance at Tavern Akaya. There's going to be women DJs. There's going to be some female empowerment performances during the event. There's going to be women behind the bar, spirited women taking over behind the bar. We're going to be raising money for the RCC's Safer Bartender program with the help from Tito's Handmade Vodka. They're donating product and also going to be on hand. So
that sounds so cool. And where is that? Remind me.
Tavernicaya.
And Saturday night?
Saturday, October 14th. The event starts at 10:30.
And do you need tickets in advance, or can you just buy them at the door?
At the door.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds so cool. The whole schedule for Madison Cocktail Week is up online, and there's a little bingo card, right?
Yeah, so participating bars have bingo cards that have the whole schedule. They're super fun. So they have the schedule of events for the week, and then also on the inside is a bingo board. So on the bingo board is a bunch of different squares with different sponsors on it. And on the right-hand corner, you'll see like all the different bars participating in bar bingo. So you go to any of these bars, and they're all featuring a week-long special for Madison Cocktail Week with one of these different sponsors. So you'll go and you can order a drink, and they will put a stamp on there, and then you bring the board to the Brandy Bash on Sunday, and you're going to get entered in for some really fun prizes.
There are some of these spirits that I really love. Like I'm kind of excited for like Big Gin. Well, I'm a gin drinker, you know, so I see Uncle Val's Botanical and I think, I don't think I've had that. I need to try that.
So good. Yeah, Wollersheim is a big part of this year too, and they have a really great gin.
They've got a good brandy too.
Yeah, the brandy's great.
I love the brandy. Although I wouldn't even mix it with anything. I feel like the Wollersheim brandy is a little bit more delicate and floral. I love that. But Angostura,
yeah,
rums, yummy. Top Note is a mixer, like a tonic, right?
Yeah, they are a tonic sponsor for the week. So we're doing ginger beer and tonic featured for the week from them.
Well, this is great. I think this will be really fun, like for the week.
I'm excited. How many events are you going to go to?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh. I went to a competition one year and it was just crazy. And I thought, okay, I need to make sure that I have balance, even within Cocktail Week, to make sure that I'm, pacing myself well. But so much of this year's stuff sounds really cool. So.
Yeah, I'm going to be at almost all the events, so I'm sure I'll see you around.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Lindsay.
This has been The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison, produced by the Capital Times. Our editing is done by Eric Lawrenson, and our music is composed by Patrick Christians. You can find out more about what you heard today at madison.com and follow us on Facebook at Corner Table Podcast. You can also subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. This week for Madison Cocktail Week, I hope you find a delicious, perfectly built daiquiri. It's one of my favorite cocktails, and with the right amount of lime juice, it's just right. Cheers!